The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.
Our countdown to Cheltenham continues with fantastic guests. Multiple Cheltenham Festival winning rider, multiple Grade 1 winning rider, and Gold Cup winning rider. He's also still heavily involved in the racing game as a race planner for the genius Henry de Bromhead, and heavily involved with leading owner Robcour. Robbie Power, welcome back to the show. Great to see you.
Nice to see you, Emmet. How are you?
You've got some amount of talent to be going to war with at Cheltenham this year. The first horse I have to talk to you about is Teahupoo, the defending champion of the Stairs Hurdle. Such a big fan of this horse a year ago, and so pleased to see him go and do it. And the doubters are back, Robbie. They're back. And to be honest about it, might have been wavering myself a little bit, but the more I look at him, the more I think he's going to do it again. Same preparation as last year, a little bit different. He was beaten by Lossiemouth, but I don't think that's a bad thing. How has he been?
He's been fantastic. As I say, it worked last year, going straight from the Hatton's Grace to the Stairs Hurdle, so if it's not broke, don't fix it. And unfortunately, Lossiemouth bet him in Fairyhouse this year, but he's had his winter, but seems to be in fantastic form. So, roll on next week. Again, as you say, the doubters are out, but the doubters always seem to be out when Tiahupoo's around. It's dry forecast. People are questioning will he be as effective on drier ground, but all his main form is on softer ground. But I'm not worried about the ground for him. I think he's stamina dependent more so than ground dependent, and 3 miles on good ground shouldn't be a problem to him. I think he's definitely the class act in the race, and I wouldn't be trying to find something that's going to beat him. I think he should be very hard to beat if things go his way. He's unlucky not to be going further, to be honest.
Oh, 100%. He probably should be. Now, Sarah de Burley was a great horse, and he was given a brilliant ride by Mark Walsh that day as well, so I'd take nothing away from him. But my goodness, he was unlucky with the way that race panned out. And he just completely outclassed them last year. And you look at him, you know what he's going to do. He's going to run to at least 164, 165. He might even be better this year. The others, Home by the Lee is a nice horse, but he's a 155 horse, and he's now 10. His best ever rating was 159. How does he get to 164 or 165 if that's what Teahupoo approaches on the day? I'm starting to just think he's a gamble responsibly as close to a good thing as you can get. And certainly that's the talk from some of the traders in various different bookmakers as well. How has his recent work been?
Yeah, everyone's very happy with him. Gordon couldn't be happier with him. He's been doing everything he's been asked to do. With Teahupoo, you get what it says in the tin. He's nothing flashy. Just does his work. He eats, sleeps and works. That's all he does. He's a very straightforward horse. Erica looks after him and knows him by the back of her hand. So, so far, touch wood, as of now, everything has gone swimmingly well.
And it's a massive bonus that Jack Kennedy is back in the saddle.
Oh, it's unbelievable to have Jack back. He's been so unfortunate with injuries, but he's worked extremely hard this time to get back, and he looks sounder now than he did when he broke the last leg. So fair play to Jack. He's been the hard yards and he's done all the work, and it's a great asset to have him back, especially with Tiopu. He knows him like the back of his hand.
I know there was a racecourse gallop the other day. How did he come through that?
Yeah, he went to Leopardstown. I know it was nothing too strenuous. He just had a day away. Delighted with him. He was moving great and stretched his legs, and he was in great form after it as well. Okay.
He's going to have support from ownership companions. Bob Olinger and Hidden Valley Lake have options as well. I've heard you talk about Bob Olinger a few times, and the more you talk about him, the more interesting he is. The big question I'd have for you is, he's won 3 times at Cheltenham, including a Rakeel Hurdle. He's obviously a dual Cheltenham Festival hero. There is an asterisk to one of those. Galopin Des Champs was so impressive. Henry de Bromhead had turned away and was walking down the run-in and then couldn't understand how Rachel was holding a tricolour and everybody was cheering her name. It's like, wait, what? The screen had gone blank, so he hadn't even seen it happen. True story. We'll talk to him a little bit later on as well. But he is a bit of a hero. The only question I'd have for you is 3 miles on the new course at Cheltenham. He'll travel really well, but will he stay?
Well, that's the big question mark, and there's no doubt. I think crossing the roadway heading to the last that Bob Olinger will be there on the bridle. Will he get up the hill? I don't know, but he'd be given every chance to get up the hill. Rachel would ride him. She'd ride him stone cold and come there with one run. Can I see him beating Tiopu? I think Tiopu might just outstay him from the back of the last, but I can definitely see Bob Olinger being in the frame.
Yeah, I can too. I could see him chasing him home for sure. And Hidden Valley Lake is a very, very good horse in his day. I'd ignore Goran because Henry's horses just weren't right at the time. Is the intention for him to go as well?
It'll be one or the other. It'll be ground dependent. If for some reason the forecast changes and we look like having very soft ground on the Thursday, then Hidden Valley Lake would go and Bob Olinger wouldn't. One would wait for Aintree, but it'll be one or the other. At the moment, you can never trust the weather too much, but at the moment it's looking more like Bob Olinger than Hidden Valley Lake.
Yeah, you really can't. There was a Cheltenham a few years ago where it looked like it was going to be good to firm ground, and suddenly the heavens opened, and it was a bog.
Last year I rode in Cheltenham. I actually rode Tiopu in the Champion Hurdle on the Tuesday, and the ground was as quick as I'd ever ridden in Cheltenham. And come the Wednesday, we were lucky to be racing.
Yeah, and nobody saw that big storm coming that saw the Wednesday cancelled and then the epic 3 days folded into 2 on the Thursday and the Friday as well. So, yeah, you can't trust the weather. Kala Conti, I think, is a really fascinating horse for Gordon. She comes from that very exciting juvenile division last season. She didn't go to Cheltenham, but she was a graded winner. And this season, she started off with a win and then 2 very interesting runner-up finishes. Anzadam's probably a really exciting horse for Willie Mullins. And you're involved with July Flower as well. But we'll start with Kala Conti. How has her preparation been going?
Yeah, Kala Conti's in good form. She has 3 options. The Mayor's Hurdle would probably look the most likely now with the news that Brighter Days Ahead is going for the Champion Hurdle. She could go to the Mayor's Hurdle. She was second to July Flower in Leopardstown at Christmas. Has had a bit of a break since and will go there fresh. That form looks very good. I mean, July Flower is a very good mare. She was second in the French Champion Hurdle. She's got plenty of class about her. So, yeah, the Mayor's Hurdle. She also has the Coral Cup and the Martin Pipe as options. But I think at the moment, connections are leaning more towards the Mayor's Hurdle.
July Flower, you just mentioned. Henry went to great efforts to get that horse back, paid a lot of money. It's already paid off. She was given a great ride by Rachel at the Leopardstown Christmas meeting. She rode her for stamina that day, and it obviously paid dividends. How has she been working at Henry's?
Yeah, she's in great form. That race in Leopardstown at Christmas, they actually went very, very fast in it. She was dropped in and given a great ride by Rachel, as you said. But she stepped forward from that run and she goes there in great form. As I said, she was placed in a French Champion Hurdle. So she's got the form in the book. Obviously, not having Brighter Days Ahead to worry about is a huge plus for both mares. So, yeah, but I'd say that you could still have Lossy Mouth, Garlama, so it's still going to be a very competitive race.
Jay de Grugy's no back number either. I think that's going to be a real headache. Probably isn't really. He's almost certainly going to ride Lossy Mouth if she ends up in the race, but I suspect that Paul Townend would prefer to see Lossy Mouth in the Champion Hurdle. I don't know. If you were still riding, who would you choose, Kala Conti or July Flower?
Tough one, possibly just July Flower on the. She beat Kala Conti impressively the last day, so I'd side probably with July Flower. That
was a really tricky one for you now, in fairness, but thank you for giving me the answer on that. And I think July Flower is a very, very interesting horse. They both are. That's a cracking Mare's Hurdle. French Dynamite for the cross country.
French Dynamite goes to the cross country. He actually went cross country schooling yesterday. He seems to really enjoy it. He's a talented horse. He always seems to make an error here or there, but he'll go and have a run the cross country and see how he gets on. He has an entry in the Grand National as well, so the cross country can be a good trial towards the Grand National. He needs to finish in the first 4 in the cross country to qualify. Yeah,
it's amazing how Gordon Elliott invented that blueprint, used the cross country for preparation for the Grand National, and how well it's worked out then for others over the years as well, but particularly for Gordon too, with Silver Birch and Tiger Roll. Couple of horses in the Mare's Novice Hurdle. Air of Entitlement. Qualamita's probably not going to go, but Air of Entitlement would be an interesting outsider.
Yeah, definitely. She's a very nice mare. She was very impressive when she won in Down Royal on Stevens' Day. The form of that race has worked out really, really well. Dropping back in trip, obviously, on good ground would be a slight concern, but with the form of the way her race has worked out in Down Royal, I think she'd have to have a good each-way chance in the Mare's Hurdle, definitely.
Yeah, and sometimes you can get a little bit fooled by that race. You really do need... I know Golden Ace was a good winner of it last year, and she looks good winning a Champion Hurdle trial over 2 miles, but stamina is no bad thing in that race.
No, it is not, for sure. They can go pretty quick in it, and it can often suit a horse that wants further, you know. New course, it can take plenty of getting, so if they go a strong pace in it, which quite often they do, it could really play into the hands of Air of Entitlement.
There's a horse I asked you about a couple of years ago, and you nearly fell off the chair when I did. It was like you were asking me, how did I even know about this horse? Heartwood. He only ran once that year. He was behind Hollow Games, given a year to acclimatise, comes back. Really good form last season, particularly that handicap chase win at Leopardstown. That was a really, really impressive performance. And this year, he's beaten Corbett's Cross. He was entitled to do so. The second to Crow Park is no bad thing, considering that horse goes on to win a Grade 1 and then finishes second to Ballyburn. And last time out, well, he had no chance against one of the greatest of all time in Galopin Des Champs. But cutting back to the Ryanair, he'd be a fascinating one.
Yeah, he's very interesting, Hartwood. I mean, he's definitely very talented. He had a very impressive win last season at the Dublin Racing Festival. I think this is probably his ideal trip, and a strongly run race, which this will be if we get Ile Francais in there, Protector at strongly run Ryanair. I think it's a very competitive Ryanair. And we're hoping this is Hartwood's optimum trip. So he's travelled very well at Leopardstown at Christmas, over 3 mile behind Galopin Des Champs, and didn't quite see it out. So hopefully dropping back to 2.5 in a strongly run race, he can be very competitive. He needs to find a bit on ratings to get to the rest of them, but we think over this trip on nice ground, he could do that.
Yeah, what kind of a horse does he feel to you overall? What you think his long-term progression will be?
Well, I think the Ryanair will tell us an awful lot about that. He tried 3 miles in Aintree, and he tried it at Leopardstown, just doesn't quite see it out. But I think we'll learn a lot more about him in the Ryanair if he's up to this level. Hopefully he is. We think he is.
He's rated the equal of Jungle Boogie, who's significantly older. Hartwood's only 7, Jungle Boogie is 11, but he's a very lightly raced and quite fragile horse. He's also very, very talented. He was brilliant at Ascot the other day. I'd like your thoughts on him, but I'd also like your thoughts on the other 11-year-old, the former winner of this race and 3-time Cheltenham Festival hero, Envoylen. Maybe should be 4 if the fall hadn't happened in the Turners. He's a very talented horse, and last year when he went to the Ryanair Chase and finished second to Protectorat, he hadn't run since November, but this year you went back to the King George, and I just wonder if the thought process was not so much that he'd win the King George, but that would be a similar prep to when he won the Ryanair and would give him a better chance to have one last hurrah at the Cheltenham Festival. Yeah,
Envoy's an amazing horse. He's the apple of everyone's eye down in Knockeen. Everyone loves him. He's unbelievably talented. He still has huge enthusiasm for the sport at 11 years of age. His running down Royal, his winning down Royal was showed that to everyone. And it's the exact same route that he did when he won the race 2 years ago. He won it down Royal, ran terrible in the King George, and then went on and won the Ryanair. So we're hoping it'll happen again. He seems in really, really good form. The drying ground is really going to suit Envoylen. I think that's really, really going to play to his strengths. And hopefully he goes there in great form again. He worked very well last week, so everyone's very happy with him. Davy Roach rides him most of the time, and he's really happy with him. So look, hopefully Envoy will put up another good show. And as you said, Jungle Boogie, another 11-year-old, he's only run a handful of times in his life. He's very, very talented. He is fragile. But his win in Ascot just before Christmas, was very, very impressive. And he's a chance in the Ryanair. He just could be anything. As I say, he's 11 years of age, but he's very, very likely race. So we're looking forward to seeing him. He seems to have built on his Ascot run. So fingers crossed. I think 3 hopefully to run the Ryanair for Henry, and you could make a case for all 3 to have good chances.
In fact, if I was to go for the Gold Cup, suddenly this race becomes far more open. And even if he does, there's no guarantee that dropping back a trip will actually suit him. It might. It certainly worked for him in the John Durkin, but Envoylen's a serious horse, and I don't understand why he's not getting the credit he deserves. I think he's a big, big player. Gold Cup, Robcour have got Gentlemansgame, who was good last season, beating Bravemansgame, and Henry's also got Monty Star, who's been running well. I've never really seen the whole Monty Star thing, but maybe you're going to persuade me here now. How are both horses?
Both in great form. Mouse is really, really happy with Gentlemansgame, and likewise Henry with Monty Star. Sort of missed the first half of the season, Monty Star, but had a very satisfactory comeback running Tramore on New Year's Day, and again ran a nice race at the DRF in the Irish Gold Cup, and we think he's improved an awful lot since that. And nobody's under any illusions that the difficulty or maybe the impossibility of trying to beat Galopin Des Champs, but take him out of the Gold Cup and it's wide open. What's going to finish second or third to him? I think Monty Star would have a great chance. I think Gentlemansgame has a great chance of picking up the pieces and being placed, I think this is possibly the worst of the 3 Gold Cups that Galopin Des Champs is running. And I think he's going to take an awful lot of beating. Barring accidents, I can't see him being beaten. And I also think there could be only 6 or 7 runners in this year's Gold Cup.
Pretty extraordinary, Robbie, isn't it? This season started with this was going to be the Gold Cup of the generation. You had all these young, exciting second season chasers coming in, Factifile, Corbett's Cross, I know the way you're thinking, Grey Dawning, Monty Star in the mix as well, obviously. One by one, for various different reasons, either Spillane Tower, either he's knocked them out of the way himself, or they've fallen by the wayside or haven't quite come up to that level. And yet he's there, still pitching.
A huge step to open company, and it's like going from minor footballer or minor hurler to seniors. It's a massive step. Not very many can make that transition from novice to open company, and that's in fact the File and Spillane Tower and Grey Dawning. They're still all very, very good horses. Grey Dawning's going to go to Aintree and will be hard to beat there. Fact the File possibly dropping back to the Ryanair. Maybe that trip suits him better. But also the horse that chased him home last year, Jerry Calam, he's not there either. Unfortunately, we lost or are missing him this season. So that's another big loss to the race itself. You know, that I thought this year could have been Jerry's year older, year stronger, improving. That this was the chance he'd get to beat Galopin Des Champs, but unfortunately that hasn't materialised. So look, it is what it is now. And as I say, take Galopin out of the Gold Cup, and it's wide open. Any one of the other horses that are entering, including Monty Star and Gentlemansgame, could fill up that second, third, and fourth spots.
And in some ways, Jerry Calam's absence almost proves how good Galopin Des Champs is. Like, for whatever reason, he's not able to run this season, which is a real shame. And hopefully we'll see him back next year. He's a very, very talented racehorse, and he's quicker than people were saying a year ago, me included, by the way. We only saw him once. Galopin Des Champs keeps on coming back for more. And you look at Brave Man's Game, Paul Nicholls is adamant he's just not the same since he was broken by Galopin Des Champs in a Gold Cup. Like, for Galopin to come back year after year over these marathon staying trips and just continue to crush his opposition, it just tells you what an amazing horse he is.
Oh, 100% agree with you. And that's what makes the greats. All about to be a great racehorse, A, you have to be very, very talented. B, you have to have longevity and soundness. You know, these are the things that make up good racehorses. And Galopin Des Champs has all three in abundance.
You're going to be there. If he is the fifth horse in the 100 running of the Gold Cup to win it 3 times, what do you expect that atmosphere to be like?
Oh, I think it'll be unbelievable. You know, Gold Cup day, there's huge racing fans there, and racing fans like to see great horses, and Galopin Des Champs is that. So I think everyone that doesn't have a representation of the race, obviously Monty Star or Gentlemansgame beat him, but if they don't do it, I'd love to see Galopin Des Champs win a third Gold Cup. You know, he's the best horse I've seen since Cato Star, probably the best you've seen Emmet since Arkle, but good horse.
Oh, no amount of filters will hide the horrible aging process. But he is incredible. He is incredible. All right, we'll be cheering him on. We'll be looking forward to it, and we'll, of course, bring it to you on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 as well. A couple of the younger generation to talk to you about before we wrap up. Work Ahead, really interesting horse. Faster time than Cup des Boards at Leopardstown. That was only his second start. We haven't seen him since then. No graded hurdle experience, and he's a 7-year-old. Horses that did not compete in a graded race going to Cheltenham. I think it's something 0 from 50 the stats boys have for Henry de Bromhead. But that being said, very, very exciting horse. How has his preparation been going?
Yeah, no, everything's been going perfectly well for him. He's a really, really nice horse. Work Ahead. Obviously, I think Cup des Boards was going to be was so impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival, but it was always the plan after he was Work Ahead was so impressive in Leopardstown at Christmas to come straight to the Supreme. And the form of that Leopardstown race has worked out really well with William Money winning impressively in Punchestown a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, he's an exciting horse to look forward to in the Supreme, and I think he has a massive each way chance around 12-1.
What do you feel about Cup des Boards?
I think he's definitely on what he did at the Dublin Racing Festival, he's probably the best horse in the race, but I would have a slight question mark about his temperament. He did get worked up before the race at the Dublin Racing Festival. The atmosphere in the Parade Ring before the Supreme is going to be electric. You know, it's going to be really knife-edge stuff. So I would be a little bit concerned, and if I was a punter, which I'm not, but if I was going to back Cup des Boards, I'd back him when he's canting down to the start. I wouldn't back him anti-post.
Yeah, you'd nearly rather take a shorter price about him on the way to the start, knowing he's behaving himself, than be on at a bigger price and then see him acting the maggot.
Any shorter on the day, no, I'd be waiting for the day and backing him when he's canting down to the start, and Paul Townend has him either under control or not.
I 100% agree with you. I think that's good advice. Champion Chase, you've got 2 against John Bon. Reigning champion Captain Guinness, who's getting no respect. And Quilixius, who I think is a fascinating runner. He was second to John Bon in the Tingle Creek. That's on John Bon's home track, basically. He's brilliant at Sandown. There's a bit of a question mark. I was speaking to Nico de Boinville earlier on. He completely dismisses this idea that John Bon is not the same horse at Cheltenham. And he won't have it at all. And he's unbelievably bullish about him. But your horse was second to him at Sandown, which is his best track. He's a former Triumph Hurdle winner, and he battered Marine Nationale at the start of the season. And last time out, Henry's horses were just unwell, so we can write that off. I think he's a player.
I 100% agree with you. I think the form he had before Christmas was very, very strong. It was a good run, as you say, in Sandown and the Tingle Creek behind John Bon. And very impressive first time up when he beat Marine Nationale. A little bit disappointing at the Dublin Racing Festival, but as you said, we just weren't firing on all cylinders at that time. And there is nobody better than Henry de Bromhead at getting horses to peak in the middle of for a long time now, and everything just seems to run that little bit above themselves. And if Quilixius runs a bit above himself, he will be banging on the door. He's a real nice chaser. 2 miles, funny enough, last year as a race planner for Henry, I thought he'd stay further, so we tried him over 2.6 at one stage. I quickly learned my lesson, but back over 2 miles. He is has an each way chance in the Champion Chase. I agree with Nico. I think John Bon will be very hard to beat given his good ground. If the ground is good, then that is going to strongly affect Energy Mean, who I think is his biggest danger, and I can't see Energy Mean being anywhere near as effective on good ground.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The more you look at the race, the more you just start thinking, doesn't John Bon just win? And if he is going to just win, then you have to find something that can run well against him, and that something, I think, is Quilixius. I'm really, really intrigued by him. I presume Rachel will ride him. She rode him at the DRF over Captain Guinness.
Yeah, I don't know, to say the truth. Like, Captain Guinness is a Champion Chase winner. It'll be up to her. He won the race last year. She'll have the choice of the 2. But he's had just things haven't gone his way this season. But he always performs at his best in the spring. So it's not just as straightforward as that. I think she'll wait till the last minute and see decks and see what ground is going to be like and things like that there before making her call.
And she's got a cracking ride in the potato race. It's a nightmare, a grueling race. You're looking for a horse at a double-figure price. But I was talking to Gavin Lynch yesterday. He's very, very bullish about the Big Westerner. She's obviously got decent form, very good form, in fact, and she's a half-sister to Stay Away Faye, who won the race a couple of years ago for the Nichols team. How is the Big Westerner?
Big Westerner is in great form. She's a gorgeous big mare. Big, strong girl. She's really nice and was so impressive in Punchestown. And then again in Limerick at Christmas, a lot of people worrying, will she be as effective on better ground? We honestly don't know. There's nothing about her homework that would say she has to have a bog. She's quite nice moving mare, has a big stride. She stays really, really well. So I think 3 miles on nice ground, she should be fine. But she's definitely very, very talented. And probably on paper, going would look like one of Henry's best chances for the week. Yeah.
I would absolutely think so. There's a number of handicappers that are going to be really intriguing. Ballyadam coming back to Cheltenham, Dancing on My Own coming back to Cheltenham. Any handicapper that you yourself are really intrigued to see?
I'm looking forward to Ballyadam again in the Coral Cup. He ran very well in it last year. He had a win in Punchestown. Would have done his conference the world of good. So I think he's interested in the Coral Cup. Beckett Rock will also run the Coral Cup. He was second in a competitive handicap in Fairyhouse a fortnight ago. He's a talented horse as well, so he'd be interested in the Coral Cup as well. Tap on the Go in the Martin Pipe. I'm looking forward to seeing him. It obviously hasn't been ideal to try and get 5 runs into a novice before March is not very easy. It's one of these rules the BHA have put in that horses have to have 5 runs to run, which I think is ridiculous, to tell you the truth. But anyway,
crazy.
At his 5 runs, and I think he gets into the Martin. He'll go into the Martin Pipe. He'll go there with a good each way chance, especially if the ground is good. I think most of our handicappers, Dancing on My Own included, all want decent surface. Jasper the Darn is a possibility for the Grand Annual as well. The two of them would look like going there, but all our handicappers nearly want good ground.
Just a quick one on Tap on the Go. He's second to Fleur in the Park, who ends up giving the Yellow Clay a real fright. He beats McClory by 9 lengths. I'm sure McClory improved at the DRF, but still. Second to Old Man Dingle. Third to James's Gate, who was being lined up for the Coral Cup but doesn't have enough runs, and he's being backed for the Grade 1 Turner's Novices Hurdle. And then the last day, I was at Punchestown. He just never really got going behind William Money. But that's William Money, who Barry Connell has been telling everybody about for a year, is a super horse, and he's been quietly fancied for the Supreme Novice Hurdle as well. The form for Tap on the Go is there.
It is, definitely. And that ground in Punchestown the last day was horrible ground as well. He didn't handle it. So that I wouldn't mind that run the last day. I still think he ran well enough over 2 miles and showed his honesty to keep galloping away the way he did. So back up to 2.5 miles on a sounder surface, we'll definitely see hopefully a bit more improvement from Tap on the Go.
Okay, Robbie, of all the horses that you're involved with for the week, who is the one you're most looking forward to seeing in action?
I want Tiopu to win the Stayers Hurdle. He was a horse that I think I rode my last race on him, and I rode my last graded winner on him, so he's a horse I like a lot. I'd love to see him in the Stayers. And of Henry's, then I'm really looking forward to seeing work ahead, stepping up to Grade 1 company in the Supreme Novices. I think he can run a big race, and obviously the big Westerner in the Albert Bartlett.
I'm supposed to be impartial and completely unbiased, Robbie, but you know what I want? I want more people to doubt Teahupoo. I want more people to question Teahupoo, so the price continues to drift and we can get stuck in. Gamble responsibly and all that. Robbie, the best of luck to you at Cheltenham. I hope you have a fantastic week, and thank you so much for your time. It's much appreciated.
Thanks a million, Emmet.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Get up to £500 refunded as real money for new Jeff Banks online accounts after your first month of betting. Use promo code FFP500 at jeffbanks.bet.